The range of rights reserved to persons under guardianships is uneven in the United States. What are their rights? How do we maximize autonomy among older adults and people with disabilities who might be subject to a guardianship or a conservatorship? Court systems vary widely in how they track and monitor guardians and conservators. What monitoring efforts are most effective? Should there be a national standard of respect for the rights of vulnerable persons? How do we protect the most vulnerable older adults and persons with disabilities while respecting their rights? In the words of W.E.B. Du Bois, now is the accepted time, not tomorrow, not some more convenient season. It is today that our best work can be done, and not some future day or future year. Maximizing autonomy and ensuring accountability. What is the Fourth National Guardianship Summit? The National Guardianship Network is hosting the Fourth National Guardianship Summit with the theme of maximizing autonomy and ensuring accountability. This virtual event brings together a vibrant mix of experts, ranging from attorneys, judges, and guardians to aging and disability advocates, academics, and family guardians. This working session summit and its approximately 100 participants will work on developing and implementing guardianship practice standards to increase autonomy and accountability. Special thanks for grants from the State Justice Institute, the Borchert Foundation Center on Law and Aging, to make this 2021 summit possible. History of the NGN and the National Guardianship Summits. Erica Wood, American Bar Association Commission on Law and Aging.
Likely, you and every delegate and every observer in this Fourth National Guardianship Summit has what I would call a sense of justice and a sense of injustice. Think about that. You have a sense of injustice. And I know that you're participating because you want to make a difference. You want to make life better for people who can't manage, care for themselves or manage their property. You want for them simply just treatment under law and quality of life.
Sally Hermy, Planning Committee Member, National Guardianship Summit.
The 80s and 90s saw a lot of good change in guardianship procedures throughout the country. Some of those important changes were more due process, representation by legal counsel, notice, hearing, participation in the hearing, as well as a more functional definition of incapacity and a focus on the need to have alternatives to guardianship and less restrictive alternatives, as well as more focus on the importance of court monitoring the well-being of the individual throughout the guardianship.
Following a successful multidisciplinary guardianship symposium held at the Wingspread Conference Facility in 1988, which launched the National Guardianship Network, in 2001, a second National Guardianship Summit known as Wingspan was held at Stetson College of Law in Florida. Wingspan called for steps in education, judicial and guardian practices, data collection, and research. 10 years later, in 2011, the third National Guardianship Summit was held at the University of Utah's S.J. Quinney College of Law, developing standards and recommendations in areas of guardian standards, guardian's relationship to the court, guardian fees, healthcare decision-making, financial decision-making, residential decision-making, interdisciplinary guardianship, and alternatives. Sally Hermy.
It's important to understand that in the United States, we do not have one guardianship system. Every state has their own laws, their own terminology, their own procedures. So it is always hard to say what's happening with guardianship in the United States today. But although we do know that there have been major reforms and changes, and there are many excellent courts and many heroic guardians, there still are instances where there is malfeasance, breach of fiduciary responsibility, and just plain bad guardianship.
Erica Wood.
So, when you compare today's guardianship practices and laws and procedures to what the reporters found back in 1987 with the Associated Press release, strides have been made. Strides have been made and spearheaded by the really insightful recommendations from the 3 prior guardianship summits, just like this one, and the diligent work of advocates just like you to really bring these recommendations to life.
What to expect at the May 2021 4th National Guardianship Summit. This year's summit will focus on 6 areas: rights-based guardianships, enhancing rights of persons subject to guardianship and conservatorship, supported decision-making, implementing limited guardianship and curtailing guardianship pipelines, rethinking guardianship monitoring and abuse, addressing fiduciary responsibilities and tensions, court improvement programs. Summit participants will work in an assigned working group to discuss one of these 6 topics and develop draft recommendations. Sally Hermy.
Yes, we do have our work cut out for us, but we've tried to make it easier for you by commissioning background papers on the key issues that we'll be focusing on. We'll have issue briefs that focus in on what are the core problems that we need to address. And we'll be working in 6 working groups so that each group can focus in on one particular core segment of problem.
On the last day, all conference delegates will come together at a plenary session to vote on final recommendations, which will be featured along with a number of articles written specifically for the conference in a symposium issue of the Syracuse University Law Review. Erica Wood.
You should expect to work really hard, to think really hard, to have many aha moments, and to really learn from the folks in your group, as you can't really learn any other way. So join us for what I think is going to be a really intensive challenge that is going to make a difference for older adults and people with disabilities who may be subject to guardianship. And that is, as the twin themes of the summit, to maximize autonomy and to ensure accountability.
Maximizing autonomy and ensuring accountability.